Hello everyone, I'm LaurieDBunnykins, and I'm going to be your host for the next few runs. So coming up next, we're going to be having Shantae and the Pirates fourth by LaurieDBunnykins. Good luck.
Hello. Yep, alright, cool. How's everybody doing? I like Celeste. I hope Celeste was fun for everybody, but now it is time for a different girl with long hair to take the stage. So this is Shantae and the Pirates Curse. It's kind of like a Metroidvania type thing. Third game in the Shantae series. And right off the bat, it's pretty interesting. Shantae's usually known for her magical genie powers, but she does not have them at all in this game. Instead, I'm going to be playing what's called Pirate Mode, which is going to start me with 5 pirate items right off the bat. I'll explain them as we get into the run, but this is essentially the game's new game plus, and it makes the game so much faster and so much more fun, honestly. So, with that being said, I am ready to get into it, so I am just going to get moving in 3, 2, 1, go. So, starting off is opening cutscenes, just going to skip them. Big thing to keep in mind is the start button to skip cutscenes also pauses the game. So I have to make sure I know where cutscenes are so that when I skip them, I don't accidentally pause the game, because that is bad. So immediately getting into the game, I'm going to hold forward, I'm going to start glowing, and then I'm going to dash. This is one of the 5 pirate items that I have immediately, thanks to pirate mode, called, it's the boots. They're not called anything special, it's just the boots, really. The boots are incredible. I'm invincible during this dash, and the dash deals a lot of damage to enemies. And enemy killing in this game is really important because I have a chance to get good drops like money or items. The next most useful pirate item is definitely the cannon, which you're seeing right now. It gives me 3 midair jumps. Other ones you're going to see in this room are the scimitar, which is this like ground pound that I didn't mean to do there, but I was showing it off. And the hat, which acts like a glider. The last one I have is the gun, which, despite how it sounds, is not actually like a not actually like a good weapon. It's kind of more of just like a projectile puzzle solver. It does very weak damage on its own. You're really only going to see it during puzzles. Oh, I got an extra item drop during the first area. So yeah, coming up on the first boss is very luck-based Ammo Baron. He has 2 attacks he can do. He can either dash at me or shoot cannonballs. When he shoots cannonballs, he can shoot anywhere between 1 to 3 of them. And with the last of those 1, 2, or 3 cannonballs being a red cannonball, which I can knock back into him to deal damage. With the pike ball that I used earlier, I can deal some extra damage and hopefully do this fight in 2 cycles instead of 3. As you see, when I hit this cannonball into him, it's going to end the fight. So that was a 2 cycle. That was really good. The reason I call it a 2 cycle, despite the fact that I had to hit him with 3 cannonballs, is because what happened there is scripted. When he's technically at 0 health, he'll jump back in the cannon, do cannonballs, and die when you hit the last one. Fortunately, we never saw a dash attack in that fight, which is really good, because you can't hit him out of dash attack like you can cannonballs. It just purely wastes time. So now we have a little bit of cutscene. This is going to introduce the main series villain, Risky Boots, which, if you think Shantae looks nice, I love this game's character designs. Risky is actually in a little bit of predicament because of this dark magic that you're going to see possess this Tinkerbat here. Basically, in the lore of the game, we're going to be helping Risky hunt down the Pirate Master to try and free her from a curse. There's the Pirate's Curse. There you go. But before we do that, we have to fight this Cacklebat as like a little bit of a mini-boss. It's not that hard. I just need to make sure I do the fight correctly. Every time it jumps or I hit it, it'll either jump or like go really high in the air. However, if you hit it while it's doing its jump, it's not actually going to do another jump. So what I did there was I kind of followed through and like followed the jump and tried to hit it a bunch in the middle of the jump. And that way I didn't have to watch it jump around the screen every time I hit it. And I was just able to combo it into oblivion. I got a bit of dark magic from beating that Tinkerbat or that Cacklebat. Usually, if you're playing this game casually, there are 20 of those hidden around the game, and you get all dark magic from all 20 of them, and you can get the good ending, but that's the only one I'm going to be fighting. So real quick before I leave town, I'm going to grab the library card, and I'm going to save the game. It's kind of a Shantae series tradition to make you save the game before you're allowed to leave the first town, so I'm going to do that, and then I'm going to do a trick here called the Risky Shuffle, where usually the dash boots activate when you hold forward for a long enough amount of time. However, by holding left on the analog stick and like tapping right repeatedly on the D-pad, since I'm holding left, the game thinks I'm holding forward the whole time, so it allows me to get my dash speed entirely in place instead of having to actually find a strip of straight land to do my running on, which is really good for this run because it's going to allow us to get dash speeds in a lot of places where you normally wouldn't have it. And being in dash is really good. So coming up, I'm doing a little bit of a trick here. Basically, these snakes here have a 50% chance to drop a flesh pop, and I need to get 3 for a side quest. So by luring them under that ceiling and using the scimitar to hurt them, I can get multiple kills on them, and when I do that, the game counts each individual kill as a chance for that item drop. And so I was able to use 2 of the snakes and get 4 of the flesh pops. One of them I used for a glitch you might see me do across the run called item eating, where if I like land on an item, like a key item collectible, and eat a consumable at the same time, I can skip the animation of getting the key item by eating the consumable. And that saves a little bit of time. There are like really good like world record routes that will like buy potions and do that all over the run. But for the sake of marathon and trying to account for luck and saving healing items, I'm probably not going to do it too much, but I just thought I'd point it out because I did technically do it the first time. Now that we can get into the palace, though, I can get the first Forbidden Isles map of the game, which means that we now have our progress forward, so it's time for me to leave. It's now time for me to leave the palace and go back to Scuttletown. I also should mention I handed in the travel brochure and got the squid oil before going into the palace, and that's another really big part of pirate mode that I didn't bring up on top of movement. Since you have all 5 pirate items going into this, you actually can skip a lot of where there would be backtracking in a normal playthrough of the game, because you already have the items required to get items that you would usually have to backtrack for. So that's a really good thing about this run. Alright, so before I leave Scuttletown, I'm buying 3 pirate flares and a super pike ball. 2 very good items that I'm not going to be using for a little bit, so I will explain them more when I get to the point where I use them. For now, I'm just going to move on to Saliva Island. And we are going to have our first, like, big island of the game. This is usually the song that I'm listening to when I point out to the viewers that this game's soundtrack is very good. And if you ever want to listen to it on your own time, you can download it for free on Bandcamp. So this area has a little bit of a story that I'm skipping. So basically, what I need to do is there's this old guy whose wife has been turned into stone. So I need to try and find a way to undo that. Here, I'm gonna go for 2 different cutscene skips. Let's see if I can get either of them. There's the first one. And that should be the second one. So both of them save 4 seconds. First skip you see, I didn't get the second one. I paused too early. Okay, well, it happens sometimes. So the first one is me running off the edge to skip the animation of the hamster flying up to his nose. You saw it just kind of faded away. The other animation you skip by pausing is the one where he blinks his eyes open. You can skip that as well, but I messed it up. Unfortunate. So for doing that, we get the pool back down at the bottom, and we get the Petrify spell, which surely will stop the man's wife from being stone, and will surely not just turn him into stone as well, right? Surely. Well, we tried. So yeah, it did turn him into stone, but turning him into stone actually unlocks the first dungeon of the game. And immediately what I'm going to do in this dungeon is go into a different secret dungeon. So this is Dribble Fountain, the first dungeon from the very first Shantae game on the Game Boy Color. And it is a secret area that you don't ever need to go to. But it has some pretty good things in here, like money and keys. I'll mention the keys in a second. Actually, no, we can talk about the keys now. So, keys in this game are universal, which means that any key you get works on any door in the game. Usually, the game is designed so that this doesn't matter. You can usually have to use every key in a dungeon to finish a dungeon. However, there was a little bit of an oversight here. Since this dungeon is technically one giant room, if I void out by falling into a pit, it respawns me back at the spawn point of the room, and I can take the 2 keys that I got in the secret dungeon and just leave the secret dungeon without using them, meaning I now have them to use anywhere in the game. I'm going to use one right here. However, the reason I do this isn't specifically for this door. It's actually for a much bigger dungeon about halfway through the run that I'll talk about when I get there. Other than that pretty cool thing that we do, though, with the secret labyrinth, Dribble Maze, or Spittle Maze, rather, is a pretty simple dungeon. Not much going on. This is the dungeon where you usually get the gun. So that's something to keep in mind. That's technically... we have that now. I was going to say in logic, but this is not a randomizer. I guess it could be.
This be a good time for some donations.
Yeah. But we're coming up on our first boss.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, sorry.
Okay, no worries.
So, this is Cyclops Plant. Technically our second boss because we had Ammo Baron. So Cyclops Plant, you can kill him really fast by sandwiching yourself using the scimitar between the ceiling. And then the second phase, I'm going to try and do a similar thing, except he's not like bound to a certain part of the screen. So I'm going to be trying to use a little bit of a Q to get him kind of stuck in that corner. That was really fast. I don't know what happened there. That is, that was a better fight than most of my fights that go really well. And I made a mistake on that. You know what? I don't know what's happening.
That was super cool.
I don't know what happened, but I mean, if I pretend I planned it, people will believe me, right? Will you believe me, chat? So now we can leave the dungeon, or leave the whole island, actually. a Tinkerbat showed up with a map to the next island that we want to go to in the run, which is Spiderweb Island. So we're going to be on our merry way as soon as this animation ends. This island is not too complicated like the last one where I had a couple things I was doing and I was jumping around, skipping. This one is pretty straightforward, but there's still a very big section in this island that I will get to. And if anyone has played this game, you know exactly what I'm talking about. And you're just as excited as I am not. Real quick, though, we're going to grab this fossil. This is another key item we can sequence break by being in pirate mode. Okay. There we go. Uh-oh. Alright, we're struggling a little bit here. But we got it. Wonder if I can get dash speed. There we go. So, this is Run Run Roddy Tops. I have a very big smile on my face, and it's entirely sincere. So this is a very tricky section of the run. I have no items at all. I have no attacks. My only button is my jump button. If I get hit once, I get sent back to the very beginning of the screen. It's a very tricky section of the run because it allows for like no screw-ups. If I get hit, I get sent back to the beginning of whatever screen I'm on. And there is some speed tech in this section. As you see, there's a little bit of a lack of a hitbox when these tongue guys shoot out their tongues, and I can use that to like kind of get through them a little bit. I tried to do a little tech here where I wiggled at the top of the screen, and then if I got the little corner slip on the guy before him, I wouldn't have to wait for that last guy, but oh well. But this is the really annoying part. This is where a bunch of spike cycles come in, and I gotta like wait. So this is the part where, if you have any announcements, this is where you can launch them.
Yeah, so we have a $50 donation from I Wanna See CC, who says trans rights. Yes. Yeah. Absolutely. Can we get some trans rights in the chat? Or
I would love
trans party notes. And we also have a $10 donation from Barachiel, $10 donation. And they say, I told myself I couldn't donate anymore, but Shantae, the game, the heroine, and the chat are just too cute. Yes, definitely.
Shantae is very cute. This screen in particular, I do want to give a special mention, because some of these gravestones are actually enemies. They don't have a hitbox while they're hiding in the grave, but when they pop out, they'll walk at you slowly. That screen has a lot of graves, like real graves, that are just sitting there being graves, not doing anything. So I have to remember which ones are enemies and which ones are not on that screen to make sure I actually jump over the enemies. After that first screen where the enemies are introduced, every gravestone I see is going to be real, so I'm just going to jump over it and it's going to be fine. Except for that one that I didn't press jump through, but it didn't pop out of the grave, so I just kind of ran through it, as you saw. This section, I can also do a bunch of little, like, baby time saves. If I jump, I can have a little bit of falling speed already by the time I fall through those little holes that I need to fall through there. Just really minor stuff in a section like this where you have literally no tech but a run and a jump. It's good to save frames. Those frames add up, you know? These enemies are the last new enemies we get introduced to in Run Run Roddy Tops, and they are by far the most annoying. They pop up at a random height, shoot a projectile at that height that is incredibly slow moving, and then go back into the ground. Depending on what height the projectile gets fired at, it can lead to some very impossible to survive scenarios like this section can be. But I made it through. All right. And then this is the last major room. It's very big, so if I die, it's going to be a sad day. But if I don't die, it'll be cool. It wasn't cool. It was not cool. There are like 2 actually difficult parts of this room that I have not even made it to. This is a good sign.
Is there still a little bit more time for announcements?
Here we go. Go for it.
Okay, so I guess I'll just say that I guess I'll just mention what you're donating for. Power Up the Tribe 2022 is benefiting the Trevor Project, and which is the world's largest suicide prevention and crisis intervention program for lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, queer, and questioning young people. The organization works to save young lives by providing support through free and confidential suicide prevention and crisis intervention programs on platforms where young people spend their time. There are 24/7 phone, lifeline, chat, text, and soon-to-come integrations with social media platforms. They also run Trevor Space, the world's largest safe-space social networking site for LGBTQ youth, and operate innovative education, research, and advocacy programs.
Thank you so much.
Yes, it's definitely a good cause.
Absolutely. So that's squid oil I got earlier. After Run Roddy Tops, we can find Roddy Tops' brother Poe, who wants to repair the carriage to connect the 2 parts of Spiderweb Island, but he needs squid oil for it. I have that squid oil. He rides me back to Roddy Tops' house. He gives me the shriveled thing. It smells. And with the shriveled thing, we can now go on our way to the second dungeon. I just have to go up here, hand the shriveled thing through these bars. And we're in the second dungeon. So this is Cackle Tower. And it is a pretty major turning point in your run, because these skeletons and another enemy we're going to fight in a tiny bit have a very good chance to drop items that are going to be very important for later parts of the run. And this is kind of the first area in the run where your item drop luck comes into play, because if you can get the item drops that you're looking for, then you can save both time and money later in the run. So we're going to use a pike ball here to make this like a big enemy die a little bit quicker. And we get a super pike ball, which is an okay drop here. So yeah, we get another key there that I can use for this dungeon. This is usually the dungeon where you get the hat. So there's actually like a giant wind puzzle in this center room. But I have 3 jumps. So wind puzzle's not an issue. I can get another key here. Need to make sure I get that one for a little bit. That dungeon where I actually use all the keys is coming up pretty soon, so I just gotta make sure I get all of them that I see, because I do not want to be in that dungeon without the correct number of keys, but till then, it is time for another boss fight. So this boss is pretty difficult. I already entered the door, it's fine. So this is the Empress Spider. Warning, I'm about to fight a big spider. If you don't want to watch that. It's not like graphic. It's just a big spider. So I'm going to put on a super pike ball here. And it's a little bit of a reaction-based fight. As you see, they have a very like unique damage animation that freezes them in place. And if I can kind of chain this together, I can go for very long attacks without them retaliating at all. If I get hit while not in an attack animation, though, I get knocked to the ground like that, and that's very bad. Because there are some attacks where I do want to follow them up like this. If I ever see them wiggle in the air like that, that means I want to get up and attack. If they ever immediately, like, don't wiggle, that means I want them to drop down. But if you do your moves right, you can keep the boss, like you saw there, pretty stunned in the air. And that was also a pretty good fight. A few hits, but just really well fought overall. And we get our next map. So as you saw when I used the Super Pike Ball, I actually menued over to the Pirate Flare on my item screen. So when I press R and L at the same time on my controller, the left and right bumper, it will actually use whatever item was my cursor was last highlighted on in my inventory menu. So after using the Super Pike Ball, which is the 3 spike balls spinning around instead of just the 1, I pressed R and L to use a Pirate Flare, which automatically sends you right back to Risky's ship. So that's why that item is ridiculously good. I used my first 1 right there. I'm going to be using 8 of them throughout this run. So this is Tanline Island, and I mentioned that Spiderweb Island was a place where your item drops are super important, and if you get good items, it can shape your luck for the rest of the run. This is an even bigger item hotspot than Cackle Tower. So, that Scorp Gal dropping me a Super Monster Milk, incredible start. By the time I enter this island's main dungeon, I'd like to have 4 Super Monster Milks and 4 Super Pike Balls, and those would be my Super Pike Balls and Super Monster Milks for every boss for the rest of this run. So that's kind of what we're going with. There's also an item called a Bubble Shield, which can drop from crabs and the cactus guys on Tanline Island that I'm going to be looking for before the end of the run. And speaking of crabs on Saliva Island, I'm backtracking to Saliva Island. There's the Bubble Shield, perfect. For the X-Ray specs that I just got from Squid Baron in Tanline Island. Basically, I need to get into Tanline Temple, which requires me to get 3 parts of a password. So I need to go through 3 areas of the game to find these 3 like artifacts that have the parts of the password on them. So the first one is over there on Saliva Island. The second one is going to be in Sky's room. Sky's parents are visiting. This artifact is going to turn Barracuda Joe, Sky's boyfriend, into stone. And we can use that for a mummy sketch. While I'm here, I also have 175 gems. I'm going to buy 2 items from the shop. I'm going to buy another set of pirate flares, and I'm going to buy a Super Monster Milk. That buying Super Monster Milk is just to mitigate a little bit of luck throughout the run, because now I only need 3 enemy drops Super Monster Milks instead of 4. So that's good. I got another Bubble Shield. That's good because not only can I use a Bubble Shield on the final boss, I can use one on the second to last boss as well, so having 2 is really good. Since I messed up my dash here, I'm just going to grab this sketch now to finish the password. It's going to be bird, bird, fish. Okay. I need that. I need to remember that. Bird, bird, fish. I'm also going to dash across this. These skeletons here on this bridge are your best bet in the game for Super Pike Ball drops. And I get to run across this bridge twice, so hopefully I get all of them here. I just get all of them, because that is very, very nice. Looks like I got a lot of regulars, but only... Oh, I can get extra gems here. There we go. It's fine. I'll deal with the regular pike balls. I can also... These Scorp Gals can also give me super pike balls like that on top of super monster milks. Because the skeletons have a chance to drop super pike balls and the Scorp Gals have a chance for both, I much prefer getting monster milks from the... I much prefer getting the monster milks from the Scorp Gals because they're the rare drop, but... I mean, just getting items is good. So now I can go into the Tan Line Temple here, which is a very tricky stealth section. Once again, I got all my items taken away. I only have my jump and attack. And I have to sneak through the temple and not only get myself out, but also free a bunch of the other main characters. Spy, Roddy Tops, and Risky. Or Sky, Roddy Tops, and Risky. This area is pretty tricky. There are a lot of fast cycles you can do on these guards to make it so you don't have to do as much stealth. But if you get caught, you get sent all the way back to your, like, room. So I don't want to get caught. That being said, I'm going to do a risky strat that saves, like, 5 seconds and if I get it, and loses me, like, a minute if I miss it. So, you know, you don't want to get caught, but you also want to be really cool while not getting caught. I got caught. I'm not going to try that again. So yeah, there's like a fast cycle you can make in that room where you jump over that guy immediately. And then you have to jump over a guy at the end of the room. Again, saves like 5 seconds. You lose a lot of time for missing it, so I will not hold y'all here forever. While you watch me miss the trick, I will just move on. I do really want to try it again, but I also don't think I should. You know what? It's content. I'm a big fan of the content. Alright, there's the first of the 2 hard jumps. The second one is that last guy down there. I'm going to try and jump over him as he turns around. There we go.
Nice.
Obviously, it does not save as much time as you lose from missing it, but sometimes you just win the game. So that's what we're going to focus on. So this is where all those keys that I collected come into play. I mentioned I need to free Risky, Roddy Tops, and Sky. Well, to do that, I'm going to have to like open all of their rooms, and usually this would take a very long navigation of the entire temple, but instead we're going to use those keys that I stole from the secret dungeon in the very beginning of the game and just not do this area. So now that that's almost done, we pull this down to get access to the throne room. And it turns out that none of us 4 were actually the princess. This was actually the princess. The princess has been gone for 30 minutes at the store. That's the lore. But with that being done, we leave Tan Line Temple. We have the golden pickaxe. We bring it to these guys, and it's going to make them go super fast through the rest of this mining expedition that they're doing. And that's going to let us go into the second half of Tan Line Island. I lost my speed immediately. There we go. So at this point, it's a pretty straight shot to the dungeon. I usually end up losing my speed on that bump. It's very hard to keep your speed on it, so I'm going to use this opportunity to try and see if this Scorp Gal drops a Monster Milk, Pike Ball. Okay. I mean, that's money saved if you think about it, so it's a win either way, but again, would have preferred the rarer of the 2 drops there. I have a lot of money, though, so maybe I can make it up. So now I'm in the Lost Catacombs. Pretty tricky dungeon here. I don't know what that is. Monster Milk standard, alright. Is that another bubble shield? Alright. I don't think that matters, but neat. Alright. We made it through there. Do I have any healing items? No. Alright. I'm in a very risky health here where these enemies deal 3 damage. I do at the beginning of the game, like in the very first cutscene, get given an auto potion, which is an automatic full heal when I get to 0 health. But there are scarier parts of the run that I would like to keep that for, so ideally I don't use it here. Maybe I get the fast cycle here? Nope. I tried. Oh my goodness, that was very scary. Alright, we made it out. I'm going to grab all the hearts I can. There might be a full heal heart before the boss here. I don't know. Nope, there's not. Alright, yeah. Thankfully, some of the monster milks that I use do give me like small heals on bosses, which, speaking of which, I'm going to use here. So this is Squid Baron. I use my first super monster milk of the run here, which is a massive damage buff to my hair whip attack, or just any attack that I do in general, so the scimitar as well. And Squid Baron I have to fight rather particularly. I may have messed it up a little bit, but we'll see how this goes, because the way that Squid Baron works is he has 2 faces. The second one, he gains a metal plating that you have to jump on with the scimitar in order to get rid of. And the reason why it's important to do well in the first phase is because the way his attack pattern plays out in this second phase is entirely dependent on what he's doing when the first phase ends. So thankfully, I still did the first phase fast enough to know what he was doing in phase 2 and get through the fight before anything bad happened. This is a reminder to stay hydrated. And we're going to Pirate Flare back to Risky. I'm going to do a little bit of a shopping reroute real quick. So here, our next step is usually Mudbog Island. However, before we go to Mudbog Island, I need to do one thing. But I'm going to make that 2 things. So for the rest of my shopping in this run, I need to buy 2 Pirate Flares, and I'm going to buy the backup Super Monster Milk. So now I should have enough of all of my items for the rest of the run. We don't have to worry about shopping or item luck anymore, which is very nice. Second thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go to Bolo, hand in the Fossil and the X-Ray specs, and in return, I'm going to get the Death Mask. There it is. The Death Mask allows me access into the second half of Mudbog Island, which is where the 4th dungeon is. So let's go there now. Mudbog Island is notable because I think this is the hardest part of the run, so this is officially the part where maybe we got a little bit of nerves going on, who knows. But in turn, because of that, it's also one of my most practiced parts of the run. So if I game it, I will be a very big gamer. This is the point in the game where the game expects you to have collected a few health upgrades at this point. So they start throwing enemies at you that do like 3 or 4 damage at once, which for context, each individual Heart of Life I have is 4 damage. So they're going to start throwing enemies at me that just deal half of my health worth of damage. Thankfully, the run, like the dash from Risky Boots, makes me invincible. But if I'm not in that dash state, I am susceptible to just take half of my health worth of damage at any moment. Like that! So the first thing we need to do in the Village of Lost Souls is collect 3 coins. And the first 2 are really simple to get. They're just right here. You're not really in risk of getting hit by any enemies. The second one is a bit different. There's a little bit of a weird barrier on the screen so that you can't, like, dash out of that screen onto this screen unless you do, like, a very specific input at the right time. I don't know that input, so I just opt to start my dash on the next screen. Now we have the last of the 3 coins. So now I have to go back to where the 3 gamers are in the middle. There we go. Okay, didn't get hit by an arrow. We're good. And now what I have to do with the 3 coins is play a heads or tails tournament where I have to win 3 games of heads or tails in a row. The game has a little, like, check in place where if I lose the tournament 3 times, it will just be rigged in my favor on the 4th time. So there's 2 alternate versions of luck where you can either get really lucky and just win all the coin flips the first time, or you can just lose them all really quickly and just take the guarantee to win as early as possible, which kind of happened there. Winning that, we get the locket, and we're giving the locket to the girl just to the right. We get the opal flame, which we put in this campfire to get the manly musk. So we're putting more smells in the lamp. And when we do that, we can put the manly musk in this room, and it will give us access to dungeon number 4. This game is very wacky. I love it a lot. But starting off in the 4th dungeon here, this is honestly one of the more simple ones, thankfully. This is always like a full heal, so I'm actually going to take that. And then this is a little secret entrance to the second half of the dungeon. And then here I'm going to do a risky shuffle into this block. This dungeon is usually a like long puzzle where you get the boots for the first time in the game. And then you have to like line up all the platforms in that middle area to make a long enough stretch of space so that you can do a dash with your boots to break that block. But by shuffling on that little elevator there, we can just break the block without doing that puzzle. I dropped a save before this boss because this boss is the most likely to kill me in the entire run. This is Dagron, and if I don't do this right, it gets very scary. He's going to swoop into the sky, and I have to hit him out of the sky, and if I do that, he gets knocked to the ground, and I can hit him on the ground. The reason this is scary is because if I don't do this perfectly, he starts getting very fast. The faster, like the more damage he takes throughout this fight, the faster he starts swooping down. And as you can tell by the end of the fight, it gets very hard to hit him. I'm dead. All right, cool. See, this is why I save. Because this game is not very nice about saving. If you die, you just get sent back to wherever your last save was. By the way, that was like my first save of the run. So if I didn't save there and I died, I have a backup save at this boss for this exact reason. But yeah, this is like really difficult. You're intended to dash into the blocks on the side with the eyes that you can see, and they will summon platforms that you can use to stand on so that you can hit him without having to use the cannon jump up on him, because you usually don't have the cannon at this point in the game. However, I will let you in on a little secret. That's not much easier, I'm going to be honest. Alright, that could be enough. Yep.
Nice.
So that fight, ideally, can literally be done in 2 cycles. You just pop him out of the sky twice and it's over. But like, as I mentioned, the more damage he takes in the fight, like the lower his health is, the more speed he gets when he swoops down. So if you don't get that 2 cycle and he's like almost dead, it can be near impossible to get that 3rd hit. But we did it. So I get the map to Frostbite Island. And now we get this Lost Soul. With this Lost Soul, we can now leave the Village of Lost Souls. However, the game doesn't let me Pirate Flare out of the Village of Lost Souls. So I actually have to navigate my way back to the exterior Mudbog Island before I can use a Pirate Flare. So there we are. Once I use the flare here, I can just talk to Risky and go to Frostbite Island. So yeah, that's the end of like the hardest part of the run. That area is just full of very like small corridors where enemies deal a bunch of damage. But now that we're out of there, I'm on Frostbite Island, where there's like no ceilings in this area. So what that means is I can just kind of jump over everything and not worry about it. Which is really fun. I like not worrying about things. Coming up in Frostbite Island, though, is a pretty funny little thing where in about a screen or 2, yeah, next screen after this one I'm on right now is going to be a giant climbing section, and we're going to be in an entirely different area. So this is Propeller Town. It is a town in the sky. And we have to navigate through here to find Bolo. So the lore about this upcoming section is that Ammo Baron, the boss from the very beginning of the game, technically owns Scuttletown right now. And we have to help him fire a giant missile at the Sequinland Palace so that he can build his own on top of it. So the first step I'm doing is I'm getting the targeting module from Bolo in Propeller Town. So this is a pretty good section if you have like any announcements.
So I guess I'll plug some of our upcoming bid wars. So in just a couple of runs, we'll have Warden Melody of the Undergrowth, and there is a donation incentive for the final boss. And currently Emperor is in link with $30, but Neona is very close with 25. So definitely get your donations in for that. And there's also Yeti shirts that you can get, and they're really nice shirts, and $5 from each shirt will go to support the Trevor Project. So, and they're just so good. Like there's just a lot of really nice shirts.
Y'all could get a shirt from the Yeti.
Yeah. Oh yeah, the link like random number generator is really cool.
So I'm back to Spiderweb Island. I grabbed the targeting module from Bolo. The next thing I need to do is take the lost soul that I got when I left the 4th dungeon after beating the boss and give it to Roddy Tops, who is going to recognize it as the spirit of Barracuda Joe, who got frozen way earlier in the game. I can also give Abner the death mask here, and it gets turned into a pirate flare, which is really cool, because, hey, I need one. So there's just a free pirate flare. And then I need to go back to Scuttletown. I need to do 2 things in Scuttletown. I need to give the targeting module to the ammo baron, and then I also need to go back to the palace, because all the way back in Tanline Island, before I even did the stealth temple, I got an enchanted sword, and if I bring that to Branson over here, he will undergo a transformation. And that makes the 2 girls go away and actually man the cannon that is going to be used to fire the missile. So now that that's done, I can give the targeting module to Ammo Baron, talk to him again. Oh, my bad. Real quick. Barracuda Joe. Okay, so, sorry Sky, but now we can actually fire the cannon. And they're aiming for Sequinland Palace. They are so far off that they miss, and they hit the 5th dungeon. So now we can go into the 5th dungeon. So now we're going to go back to Frostbite Island. And there's just one more screen until I get to the final dungeon of the game. This is the Abandoned Factory. Pretty simple. Usually the gimmick here is you have to go all the way to the bottom, get the cannon, so you finally have your 3 midair jumps if you're playing normal mode, and then like go all the way back up to go to the boss. However, since I have the cannon already, all I'm gonna do is just get like all of the easy keys that I can, and then go straight to the boss with those keys. I still need to collect a good amount of keys. I need 3 to get to the boss, and I don't have any, because again, I used all of my keys against the or at the Tanline Temple, but thankfully there are 3 very easy to get keys in this dungeon, so it doesn't matter. I can just get them, and we can move on to the next boss. So this is a pretty tricky boss, another luck-based bit here. This is the Steel Maggot, patent pending. So on top of my Monster Milk and Super Pike Ball here, I'm gonna also use a Bubble Shield, because what I have to do... I'm gonna use a Bubble Shield. Because what I have to do on this boss is that I have to hit the 3 lights on top of him in the correct order to activate his weak point. This is a total guessing game, and every time I get the wrong, he shoots out a giant array of shots that the bubble shield completely nullifies. So... I need to be careful here. Okay. That's a really scary fight because not only can you take a lot of damage from running into the steel maggot, and also if you take too long to guess the pattern correctly, your bubble shield and monster milk can run out. By the way, all your items like that only last for 1 minute, so you got to make sure you fight them fast. But also, I have to specifically space myself when doing those hits, because if I'm too close to the weak point when I'm hair whipping it, the pike balls won't actually hit the weak point. They'll just hit the body of the thing, and that's when you hear that like metal scratching sound, and that means he's not taking damage. Thankfully, I made it out of the fight with everything still alive. Still have my monster milk, my pike ball, my still have my monster milk, my pike ball, my bubble shield, my life. And the map to the Pirate Master's grave. So, Risky gets taken by the Pirate Master, and now it's time to go save Risky. We're gonna go back to Sequin Land, which has been taken over by the Pirate Master. And it is officially time for the very final stretch of the game. So running through this area is really simple, just like every other time we've done it. I'm invincible because I have the dash on, so I don't need to worry about, you know, I don't have to worry about taking damage when I'm invincible, fun fact. And then we make it to the final area of the game, the Pirate Master's Palace. This is a pretty simple area, but it's only simple because I'm making it both extra simple and extra complicated at the same time. Basically, this dungeon consists of 3 mini gauntlets in side rooms that I need to complete to make it all the way up the tower. However, by using a little bit of extra height that you get when you deploy your hat, as well as perfectly spacing my cannon jumps, I can skip all of those gauntlet rooms. So if you ever saw me do a jump that looked very specific, and I landed on a platform with an eyeball switch next to it, I skipped a major chunk of the dungeon on all 3 of those jumps. And I'm going to drop a save before the final boss, because now that I made it all the way up the tower, it's time for the final boss. I feel the need to drop a save here because the last marathon run I did of this game, I actually crashed on that loading screen before the final boss, which is really cool. But this is the Pirate Master. Because we didn't get the good ending, he's only going to have 1 phase, and that phase is very easy. He does not really do any contact moves. His only damage is dealt via projectiles. So, as long as I make sure to be careful and not run straight into his body, which deals a full heart of damage, I will be pretty fine in this fight. And then time is going to be at the end of this fight, which I will point out when that'll be. I just need to make sure to be careful again, because I tried to do a little bit of a risky play. Okay, but he's off the platform, so time is coming up real soon. Time.
GG.
That was a run. That was a nice run. I like that run.
Yeah, that looked like a really good run.
So yeah, unfortunately I didn't get all the dark magic, so I did not get the good ending. Risky is still cursed. Oops. But we beat the game, and gaming is fun. So yeah, that's Shantae and the Pirate's Curse. Really fun speed game. If you want to check this one out for yourself, I would absolutely recommend it. People I talk to in the community are great. A lot of people seem to like this game. It's just all around a very fun run, and I hope y'all enjoyed watching it. Also, just play these games. Yeah, the Shantae series is a very fun set of games. So I recommend you check it out. This wasn't a PB, but for posterity's sake, 54:42 was my in-game time. You have to show that if you're submitting a run to the leaderboard. So there you go. Thank you so much for enjoying the run. But I'm not done here. I still have to play a short hike, so I'll be right back.
Thank you so much, Laurie, for that awesome Shantae run. That was a whole lot of fun. So coming up next, we're going to be doing a short hike, which is a really cozy just game where you fly around and it's just really relaxing. So definitely stick around for it.